Hi, I'm Josh Langley, author of the Being You Is Enough series of books for kids, and I'm passionate about kids' emotional and mental well-being.
And I'm Kris Williams, Secretary of the Children's Book Council of Australia WA branch, and I just love books.
And we are talking the Reading for the Heart and Mind series,
Yes,
Kris.
we are.
Today, it's about resilience, and we know how important resilience is for
Absolutely.
adults,
Yes.
but especially for kids.
Yes.
And for me, it's one of these big things that I'm really interested in is showing kids how they can be resilient. And for you, books is a great way. So can you talk to us about that?
They are great because in books you'll find all ways of dealing with problems, and resilience is all about being able to bounce back, being able to learn from a mistake and not let it get you down, being able to not worry about what someone says about you and to say, no, I'm better than that and I'm good. And one of the great books out there at the moment, Josh, is actually one of yours. This one here.
Written from personal experience, mind you.
Magnificent Mistakes and Fantastic Failures, because a failure doesn't have to mean that you're no good at something. A failure means, okay, it didn't work that time, let's see what we can do to make it better.
Exactly, see what opportunities there are in that failure.
Exactly right. And resilience for kids is so many things, it could be losing a pet. So what do you do when you lose your dog or your cat or your
rabbit? Every family goes through that, don't they?
This beautiful book by Breonna Stewart talks about a little boy who's lost his pet rabbit. And instead of sitting there and crying all the time, he goes and sits out in the winter garden and he thinks about all the wonderful things that he was able to do with his rabbit and how the rabbit loved the garden.
Nice way to frame it. Yeah.
Beautiful, yes, beautiful book. So there's lots of things that happen in our life, not only to us, but around us. One of the saddest things, I think, is when people forget who you are. When there's dementia and either your pop or your uncle or your mum or your dad or your grandma, how do you deal with the fact that they don't know who you are anymore when you know them so well? Two fabulous books written by WA authors, one by Julia LAWRINSON, which is from a teenager's point of view, how she deals with her dad losing his memory very slowly from a young age for her dad. And this one here from the perspective of a 9-year-old who is trying to cope with the fact that someone he loves doesn't remember him anymore.
It's hard to explain to kids, so having a book to read is a great way of actually getting them to go, oh, okay, I can sort of start to understand that now.
But resilience isn't only about families losing someone or anything like that. Resilience is about what you do when you come face to face with the worst things in the world. This book by Hewitt Alec is just the most amazing book. His dad led 20,000 young boys, led them across the most dangerous country through wild animals and rivers and everything else until he could get them to a camp where they would be cared for. His son is the author, Hewitt, and that's why he writes about Father of the Lost Boys. The things that they went through, having no clothes even, no food, no shoes, nowhere to sleep at night, is just the most incredible story of resilience. Hewitt finally came to Australia with his family. He has been to university. He now holds a very high-powered job, and it just shows you what you can do if you don't give in. If you just take what you do, keep going and learn.
And it's a good book to put things in perspective.
Absolutely.
If you're worried about things at the moment, or you're whinging or complaining, read that book.
That's right.
And you go, okay, I'm pretty glad.
Pretty glad. I mean, kids need to be resilient today with everything that the world's going through, so reading something like that will put it all into perspective.
Chris. Okay, what have we got next?
Well, next I would like to show you this book by Sally Morgan called Sister Heart. I loved this book very much. It's about a young Indigenous girl who's taken away from her mob. She's put on a ship. She's dropped off at a mission home, a mission school, totally away from everything she knows, away from her country, away from her mob. And it's about her never giving up on getting home, but making the best of where she is, making the best of meeting other people, hence Sister Heart, not the same mob, but they both have the same things in their heart. They want to go back to their country, back to their families. It's a beautiful book to read, and it, again, is about hope. It's about not giving up. It's about taking the best from what you've got right in front of you.
Fantastic. What else?
This is one of my favourites. This is
Sally
also a book that's on the CBCA Notables and shortlist for this year. A place to go if you want to get the best in young adult and children's literature that's around at the moment. Worst Things, really good if you've got someone who's into sport, but not only sport. It follows the stories of 3 characters. One young boy who, he's going to be the footballer of the year when he gets older, but he breaks his arm.
And that's the end of him, isn't it?
And he thinks his whole career is over, the worst thing. Then a young girl who's an incredible hockey player, but she doesn't want to be a hockey player, but she can't tell her mum. And all her mum wants her to do is be a hockey player. And then a third child who's a refugee, who has a barrier that is language, doesn't understand football, doesn't understand hockey. He comes from a soccer background. So the 3 of these eventually come together because of all the worst things could happen, what was wrong with them was not the worst thing.
Yeah.
And the worst thing that could happen brought them together as friends to see that there were ways that they could communicate. Football, he could be a referee. You know, she could be a dancer.
It's about looking at things in a different perspective and in a different light.
Way.
And I think that's one of the great things that these books teach kids, is to be able to shift their thinking, open their mind up, and be able to go, okay, maybe I can do this.
Yes.
Where can I go with this?
That's
and
right.
How can I use that? Yeah, that's fantastic.
If you're not picked for the football team, don't worry about it. Become the most passionate supporter.
And there's lots of passionate supporters of football
there
teams. And now look, we've got a whole stack of books here. You've just mentioned a whole bunch of them there, which you can actually go to the Children's Book Council of Australia WA website, find the listing of all the books. It'll also be in the description of this video as well. Where else can people find these books?
Libraries are a great resource. Our librarians have such a wealth of knowledge about what's out there, what's new, what books are about. They could tell you about these fabulous books that help you deal with what's happening in the future, about a planet that's gone crazy. They could help you talk about what happens if I am under peer pressure. So librarians are great, and then of course you've got all our specialist bookstores who again, the booksellers are so knowledgeable and are able to help you with books for whatever you're looking for.
Once again, Kris, this has been very fun, very informative. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, and we'll see you again next time.
Happy reading.